does seem to be a very bizarre thing, this, and you do have to question whether the people instituting a policy like this are solving a problem or creating one. You know, will banning words such as nitty gritty really help people of ethnic minority groups who might be having problems in their life? Is this really the solution to their problems? You know, is someone that uses the word nitty gritty motivated by hate? Or is it just a common word that people use, and that they don't know the sort of 15th century origins of this word? It's very, very odd, and it's very, very typical of the BBC to pounce on what was a small niche issue, sort of circling in left-wing Twitter, blow it up, use our money and our taxes to push an agenda with sort of, you know, in our faces, that really actually it is causing more problems than it's solving. I mean, this issue it came from a report by an organization called Run Repeat, who did do a study into bias and perceived bias in football commentary, and they did find some discrepancies that are worth looking into. And I think that you'd be sort of mad to dismiss that outright. This was a study and there was evidence. But the BBC, to literally a couple of weeks later do a sort of sledgehammer response to something that hasn't even been considered and balanced, is just classic BBC. And it's not this is not to run down the lived experiences of ethnic minorities who might feel there is bias in this football commentary. It is to say merely that I don't think we're being proportionate and we're really solving the problem here. And
the other problem, Liam, is that you can, other than somebody reporting or compiling some research, one small organisation saying that, you know, these words might be tricky. But what always surprises me about these kind of stories is you never meet anyone who's actually asked for this to happen. And somebody brings it upon themselves to self-flagellate and decide that some terrible things are taking place, and we are guilty of throwing out racist words like nitty-gritty and sold down the river and uppity. And somehow these need to be eradicated. Now, I just did a cursory look because I like to do a bit of research when we discuss these things, Liam, and it's very hard. I mean, there's all manner of words in our language that have a nefarious history. If we really want to go there, we'd probably be losing half the OED.
Exactly. It's just crazy. And the sort of alternatives that they've suggested to some of these words are quite amusing. The alternative to nitty gritty suggested is the most relevant fact of practical relevance. Imagine saying, I got in a muddle there anyway. Imagine saying that halfway through a football game. Like, these people are so far removed from reality, and that it's just astonishing. I would like to pick up on one thing as well. Like, it does strike me, and I think you're totally right about no one being offended by this before. It's like what I said, they're creating problems. But, you know, it's very striking that they want to ban a word like uppity, used in reference to minority groups, but the BBC will proudly run programs and promote them across social media, calling sort of white working class groups Karens, and they'll run segments telling Karens, so-called Karens, to shut up and get out of the way.
Well, didn't just run them, but heavily promoted them as well.
Exactly. And you know, they'll pick up on perceived offence against uppity, but not Karens. And then, you know, it just really does strike me. I mean, I'm not for banning words like Karens. You know, I do think it's a nasty thing to say about an entire group of people, you know, a group of people that, you know, I might identify with. But it's still, like, shouldn't be banned. You know, it's something that certain middle class people like to laugh at working class people and call them Karens. And that's fine. They can expose themselves for being who they are. So that's fine. But it's just extraordinary that the BBC does seem to have consistently a one-sided approach to these things. They consistently look at it from a one-sided point of view. And the other thing I would like to pick up on quite quickly is all of this is happening just days after the incoming new Director General of the BBC promised that he would have a comprehensive and immediate crackdown on bias at the BBC. He rather notably has rewound the decision to ban the words to patriotic songs at the proms, but he said that he will be coming down immediately on this, you know. And I just think this just shows immediately that we can't trust a word that he says. Okay, there is no way that one man coming in after decades and decades of bias is going to solve this problem overnight. Okay, he might have said some slightly encouraging things. Well, actually, I've read his speech in full. Okay, and he uses the word impartiality 11 times in this speech, more than any other long word of its type in this speech. But he doesn't lay out any solutions. His only solution to this, really, he mentions bringing in alternative voices. These are all things past director generals have said. He mentions a few other things, but the one thing he really focusing on is banning staff from giving their opinions on social media. Yeah. And I actually think like that the BBC staff giving their
it's almost the least of his problems, really, isn't it, Liam?
It is, and ironically, the staff giving their opinions on social media has actually exposed to a lot of people what a lot of this bubble believes, the BBC bubble believes, and as soon as we stop them doing that, they won't be able to do that. It was very interesting in the proms debate. They sort of tried to blame it on coronavirus later, didn't they? They were like, oh no, the only reason we banned these lyrics was because of coronavirus. And we were sort of like, oh no, you didn't.
That's right.
And then it was sort of, it all came exposed because a high ranking BBC executive had compared these songs to Nazi propaganda. And it's the use of social media actually is quite helpful, I think, in exposing what these people, the ludicrous things these people really believe. And so all this new director general is doing is he's seeking to hide, he's seeking to mask the problem. He's seeking to paper over the cracks. I don't know if he's actually interested in tackling the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is things like this. They go head over their heels to sort of tackle a perceived offence on one side of the fence, but not another.
Yep.
And this is happening right when he said he'd be solving the problem. And we're seeing just classic BBC. More of the same.
Indeed. Liam, great to have you on, sir. Passionate stuff. Liam Deacon, thank you. Head of press at Defund The BBC, an organisation that seems to be gathering quite a bit of momentum. And you can understand why when you read stories like this. Let's just call it what it is. This is